Hey there! Today we're going to have a look at an interesting pen. This is a very polarizing pen model because I have found quite often now that people either love it or hate it, and that model is of course the OMAS 360. This is the vintage style model. There was also a modern 360 which has a shape that is a bit more rounded off, and this is a very interesting one. I personally prefer this old style 360. I borrowed this from my friend Murray, and this is a 360 in the wild celluloid. This is not the size of a Magnum. I wish I had my Magnum and I could show you them side by side, but my Magnum is coming back from repair any day soon now. So we have that. I'm going to cover the parts of the pen, I'll do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Let's get started. Okay, so here we go with some controversy. Yes, the OMAS 360 model I think is fantastic and beautiful, but it's a triangle. And some people love it, some people find it very comfortable, and other people don't. There were different 360s. There was the Mezzo, there is the very large Magnum, and there is this model, which may be a Mezzo. To be honest, I always get confused. In any case, I do know this is smaller than the Magnum is, both in length and in girth. Here you see this pen right next to a Lamy Safari. You can see it is not particularly massive. It's not small, but it's not a huge oversized pen. One thing to be very careful of when you ever handed one of these or are considering buying one is that the caps snap off. It's a snap cap or a slip cap, and these are not twist caps because of the shape. I think the caps can be fragile, so don't twist it. That can actually crack the celluloid, which would be a giant shame. So let's cover the parts of this pen then. I don't have the box to show you, but I know that OMAS did nice boxes with little pen sleeves. Top of the cap finial is the same material as the rest of the cap, quite nice. You have this interesting ski slope clip, which I've always liked. It's very simple, but it's very effective. It works really, really well. And then here we have the center band with the Greek key pattern, which I really enjoy. Barrel, all the same material, and then you have the piston turning knob, also in the I wanted to say Arco, sorry, in the wild celluloid. Cap snaps off. I once read that it's recommended not to post these pens because of stress you put on the cap. So I won't do that. You have a tiny step down here and then you have that section. Now I find this triangular section to be supremely comfortable. It really is very pleasant to me to hold. But some people hate it, and it depends a bit on whether you rotate your pen or not. Strictly speaking, you can take this nib and feed and rotate it a bit to your liking. However, I would not recommend anyone to do that. Leave that to a professional, because the nib collar on these pens is actually pretty fragile, and it's ebonite too, and that can crack, and once that cracks you run into a host of problems. The pen is piston filled, does not hold an enormous amount of ink. Same thing with my 360 Magnum. Even though it's piston filled, there's not a huge ink capacity I found, but that's okay, I guess. Section tapers down, then you have another band there with again the Greek key, and then OMAS's gold nib, in this case 18 karat. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's a fine. And then we have an ebonite feed, and I like those flat ebonite feeds a lot. Okay, let's do a writing sample, and then I'll tell you what I like about it and don't like about it. I kept it very simple. I'll zoom out a bit here. Kept it very simple, just Waterman Serenity Blue. OMAS 360, nib is 18K, fine, and the ink is the, I'm not going to write down Serenity, but just the regular Waterman Blue. Very pleasant nib. OMAS did some really nice stuff with their nibs. I really like it. It's smooth, it's pleasant. There's a horrible S, but you know what I'm trying to do. Simple, pleasant nibs. I like them. There's different types of nibs. The nice thing is it is an arrow, so it has fletching. I always forget what you call that. The end of an arrow. There is the arrowhead. I like it. Simple, nice imprint of OMAS. But the best thing about these nibs, in my mind, is not how they look, but is how pleasant they write. no skipping. Very pleasant, and I have written extended periods of time with 360 models. I find them, again, very comfortable to hold, but I have never had one run dry. Unless it runs out of ink, but it doesn't draw a vacuum, there's no ink starvation, it just keeps going and going and going and going. Okay, I'm very careful, but line variation, you can see you can very carefully squeeze out a little bit, but I'm not going to push it, it's not my pen. That's pretty much all there's to it, except for reverse writing. And as you can see, it's not really a thing. The pen runs dry very quickly and stops writing. So don't buy the pen if you do a lot of reverse writing. It is a fine nib. I would say that for some companies this is a medium for sure. It's not an ultra fine, but that's it. So let's see what I like about this pen and what I not like about it. Hey, okay, so OMAS 360, wild celluloid. What do I like about it? I think it's a fantastic pen model. I've always loved the 360 from the first moment I held one in 2011. That triangular grip section to me is perfect. It's exactly how it should be. That's exactly how I hold a pen. So for me, this is perfect. I hold out my fingers, there's a triangle, the pen fits right in there and it works fine. I think that is fantastic. I personally prefer the Magnum model, but that's because I like the slightly bigger size of that pen. But I love the 360. I think it's a superb pen. Now, having said that, the biggest issue with this pen, I think, is that it is a hit or miss thing. I have never, in quite a couple of years in the pen community, talking to people, I've never met anyone who said, oh, that pen is okay. It's either I love it or I hate it. I can use it and it's so comfortable, or I cannot use this pen without cramping up my fingers. So if you are considering buying one, right now you would probably have to do that through eBay or something because OMAS is out of business. But try it. Go to a pen show. 360s are not very hard to find. The Magnum is easy to find at pen shows. I've never been to a pen show where there was not at least one Magnum. So you can find them, but try them. Ask if you can dip them and write a little bit with it because again, it's not for everyone. Beyond that, it's the 360. It's an iconic design. The triangular design works really well. I have never shown someone this type of pen and that person will not go, oh, triangular, that's cool. So people do really like it. Again, I think it's a great model, but this is one of those things you have to try for yourself. Now, as to pricing, I don't know. It's not my pen. 360s, you can probably find a Magnum. They've probably increased a bit in price since the demise of OMAS, but the Magnums don't have the super interesting materials. I think I paid $500 US for my Magnum. These would demand a little bit more money because they are interesting celluloids, and the Arco, I think the last Arco 360 I saw, so the brown Arco, the 360 in this material, went for 4,000 US, which is a little absurd, but that's what they go for. The Wild, I think, would not be as expensive, but I would not be surprised if people are now putting down 4 figures for this model because of the rarity of the celluloid. It's disappearing from the world, right? So you'd have to shop around a bit, you'd have to find one that works for you, works for your budget, but again, I think the 360 is a great, iconic model, so I absolutely love it. And that's it. Murray, thanks a lot for lending me the pen, I really appreciate it. Guys, I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye-bye.